Back when I was 19 years old, I was given the best piece of advice that I've ever received. I was told, Daryl, when you stop fighting, the fighting stops. Let's talk about that. Thank you for joining When I Stop Fighting, the podcast. My name is Daryl Dittmer. Today I'm joined by Robert B. And Robert is self-described as, I was a drunk drug addict and now I'm not, which I think is the coolest thing ever. Welcome, man. Great to have you on.
Daryl, thanks for having me. Humbled and honored to be on your podcast today. And I want to just put it out there. I may become emotional. I'm already feeling it. So really glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. No, I appreciate you saying that. I'm honored to have you on. I mean, you and I met via X, the artist formerly known as Twitter. And, just you can tell when people just have that depth and that desire to improve and to help others and to move forward and to, just enjoy and love life. And you have that, and it's so apparent. And that's what drew me in. And there's I don't know, there's thousands or millions of people on X, and you come across so many, and there's only a handful, that really hit you. And that's exactly what you did for me. So I appreciate that.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you saying that, man. Like that kind of stuff blows my mind today. I can remember towards my end walking into a bar and the bartender pointing at the door saying, "Leave. You make people uncomfortable." And now to be in a position where, again, you're asking me to come on your show to talk with you about the beauty of life it blows my mind.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I'm glad as can be that you're here, and I'm glad you said yes. I mean, it's not easy to share our stories sometimes, and it's not easy to open up and just, have some sense of vulnerability. And I know that the tables that we've spent a lot of time sitting around and talking about things, there's an aspect certainly of vulnerability with that. Right. But there's also, it's a little different. I guess I look at the 12 steps as a roadmap, right? A roadmap for living, and a roadmap to get to the point where I'm not what I used to be, and I'm changing and I'm moving forward. And I know you've certainly experienced that, because from what you put on X and some of the stories that you share, it's changing life. It's changing you. It's changing Robert.
That's right. Absolutely. Well said.
Thank you. And so in that regard, I'm a big fan, and I know I talk about stopping the fight, and the fight is different for everybody, and everybody's got a different fight, and everybody's got a different story. But I'm, I'm a big believer that everybody's story is incredibly valuable.
Absolutely.
And everybody's story is something that, nobody else can duplicate. And our story is precious, and as hard as it may be, it's what helps other people.
That's right.
And it's what we have to give. And that's what I'm a big believer in, is it's what we have to give. And I think it's just so incredibly important. So in that regard, if you wouldn't mind, Robert, just sharing your story, I think we'd all love to hear that.
All right. Well, I try to stay out of the mess, right? And in the solution. My sponsor taught me that, but I definitely have to go ahead and qualify. I am an alcoholic and left to an untreated state of mind. I will drink again. And what does alcoholism mean to me? Is it that I live under a bridge? Do I have failed relationships? Am I not paying my taxes? Well, one could say those are manifestations of it, but the reality of it is as an alcoholic, I'm generally thinking about drinking, and once I start drinking, I can't stop, and I qualify as that. Now, that being said, like my story, I'm nothing special. I'm nothing unique. And I've heard far worse stories than mine. And I know a lot of people that were able to get control of this, before they got to the point where I did. But it took what it took for me to get there. And it involved a lot of destructive behavior. I had a lot of positive in my life. I grew up, my old man worked for the government. We moved around. I wouldn't say that was positive. From start of school to like my freshman year, we moved to 6 different places. It was like military, but I had success. I went through the school system. I started drinking in high school like anybody else. Can't say that it was necessarily a problem. I didn't have any aha moments. Like I wasn't one of these guys that took a drink and all of a sudden the fucking world made sense. Like that was not my story. I just remember drinking, and I remember I loved to do it. And but I was still doing the other things in life, job after school, passing grades in most classes, going as soon as I'm out of school, making life decisions. I chose to jump on the commercial fishing boats there in Alaska, fished around locally around my hometown for salmon and cod, went out west into the Bering for crab fishing, and eventually found myself in law enforcement. Now, we don't just, get dropped in there, but a series of choices, a series of close calls on the deck of the boats. I was pointed in that direction and made that decision. I would say that that's really, law enforcement was the touchstone of growth for my drinking. It was instantly obvious that it was going to take on a whole new meaning for me. And I'm not saying that I drank because of things that I saw or otherwise, but there was a tendency to participate in life with those that you worked with. You ended up secluded is what it was. It didn't take long for me to lose sight of my civilian friends and civilian life and just start attaching myself to a handful of guys I worked with who drank like me. And so we spent a lot of time in that. So, and again, I had huge success in the arena of law enforcement on duty. On duty, I was a top cop. I made the SWAT team. I had the Medal of Valor for something they considered heroic. I had these things. I had letters of accommodation for working with middle school kids as a resource officer in the inner cities. I had a lot of these experiences, but as I walked through life, my drinking just increasingly got worse, and my consequences increasingly got worse. And what I mean by that is I drank to the point of ended marriages, 3 of them. I drank to the point of my grown children. I can remember the day where I went to go pick up my kids from my ex-wife, and my 2 little boys at the time, now they're grown men, but they come running out to jump in the car, and my ex-wife meets me at the stairs and says, "Your daughter doesn't want to see you anymore." And she was 12 years old when she made that decision. And I had yet to see what the problem was. And I stood there on that porch and cussed her out and blamed her for influencing my 12-year-old girl to not come see me, right? Like just absolutely blind to who I was. And, when I was having these experiences and people were politely tapping me on the shoulder from time to time, suggesting that I might want to take a look at the drinking. But if you're anything like me, and my disease, to be told that drinking's the problem makes zero sense. Drinking was my solution. The idea of not having the drink if you did the job I did, if you dealt with the people I deal with, if the fucking preachers preached what they did in my life to your life, you would drink too. So the reality of it is I was unwilling to see that I had any part to play in the destructive behavior in my life, and it was everybody else's fault. And eventually that I took my drinking career and set it up on the bar and gave it away to the bartender. And in quicks, I'll just make this really quick. In 2009, I had a DUI crash. Got put on paid administrative leave for a year while my legal problems were taken care of. I had a solid enough reputation from 8 to 5 that everybody had my back, right? The union came out for me. My lieutenants came out for me. One of my lieutenants filled out all my paperwork so I could have a temporary driver's license. I mean, everybody was on my side because they only knew me from 8 to 5. And though some of these other things that were taking place, like getting into altercations when I'm not because I'm drunk at the bar, other stuff, like these things were starting to filter in, but we're so good at when we get those moments of not sobriety, but like I'm not drunk at work. So I'm able to convince you. I'm very good at manipulation. And so I can get the whole world back on my side for a small amount of time. And then I'll rip it all down again. But, eventually I gave that career up to my drinking. And in short succession after that, I was introduced to methamphetamines, which, 16 years as a cop, you would think I would know better. But this was my thought when that person laid out a line on the table in front of me. And I said, that's meth. And she said, yeah. And I said, you don't look like the people I arrested. And she said, no. And my brain said it was okay to use because I was thinking a tweaker. I was thinking somebody picking their face. I was thinking somebody sticking a needle in their arm. And here was this relatively normal person. And next 2 years, a blur, a whirlwind. I end up homeless on the streets of the Pacific Northwest. I'm living in a tent in the Mount Hood National Forest. I'm setting up booby traps. There's no one left. Like there's nobody left. There's nobody coming around, check on Robert. Nobody's picking up the phone. If you are, I'm asking for money. I'm surfing around from whatever 9 to 5 will take me in until I blow up on a job and tell them where they can stick it because I'm better than this, right? You don't know where I come from. You don't know what I've done. But I can't not drink and I can't not get loaded. I can't function in sobriety anymore. I can't function without having something in me. And that all came to a head on December 15th of 2004, actually December 12th. It all came to a head. Came down off the backside of about an 7-day run on meth, where I'd been up the whole time, and ended up in a pretty significant altercation with the person that I was involved with. My partner at the time included me destroying property, domestic violence, just absolutely. I was out of my mind, and my memory, what I remember of the night was ended up running through the neighborhoods, into an intersection in this town. 2 city cops and 3 county cops pop out of nowhere. I don't know where they were, but guns drawn. And I was done. And I just remember running at them and hoping that they would kill me. I knew they knew who I was. They called me by name, and I don't know. I don't know necessarily why they were there for me. I mean, I would assume I knew, but as I was approaching them, they just split and let me run through, and that was that. Like, they didn't chase me. There was nothing after that. I didn't have any Like this night was the culmination of everything. Like this was the night. After that encounter, I went up to the freeway overpass over I-5 and tried to get the courage up to jump off. But I can't say, oh man, I'm really glad I didn't. Like, I don't know what's on the other side of the veil, but I'm really grateful to be here today. I'll tell you that. Like, I'm fucking really, really glad I'm here. And, but whatever it was, I'm standing up there on the freeway, looking at the cars, I-5, up through the corridor of Portland, and standing on the overpass. And I had this moment, like this aha moment. And I'd remembered about a year earlier when this gal and I were running up 82nd Avenue, which is basically, whatever you want, that's where you go to get it. And motels rent by the hour, that type of thing. And we were going from one motel to the next motel playing video poker. And we were walking down this side road, and I look over and there's this great big warehouse. And out in the parking lot, there's some semi-trucks, but there's this group of about 60 to 70 guys walking from this warehouse to a different building. And the other building has a cross on it. Now, the cross, that was irrelevant at the moment. All I saw was a bunch of dudes. And I couldn't fit, I'm like, what is this place? And this gal I'm with said, that's the Salvation Army ARC. And that's the thought that popped into my head as I was considering killing myself that night. And I decided I was going to get through the night, and I was going to call the Salvation Army in the morning. And I did. And they said, if you can pee clean for meth and booze, you can check in. Because I've been smoking copious amounts of reefer to keep myself sane. Like I'm freaking, I've got the meth going in and the weed. I'm just trying to balance out from going absolutely nuts. And so that's what I did. And on December 15th, I walked through the doors of the Salvation Army ARC out of my fucking mind, knowing only one thing, that I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do whatever this was anymore. It had nothing, like we all say that, like every time I showed up at AA, like my story involves multiple attempts, multiple treatment centers, all that stuff. And all of us have that. And every time I got sober, every time that I was trying, I meant it. Like solemn oath, I swear, blah, 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 take some blood, I don't care. Every time. But there was something different this time. And it was like nothing mattered. Nothing mattered. I knew that no matter what, a drink and a drug was not going to make anything better at this point. Like that, it was the first time I saw it crystal clear. It's not going to make it better. And if it's not going to make it better and I'm too much of a coward to kill myself, I got to do something, and I don't know what to do. So I need to go somewhere where someone tells me what the fuck to do. Like that was ultimately it. Like I thought I had the world figured out. And in that instant, I realized I don't know shit. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to maintain a job anymore. I'm not showering. I don't have a house. Like, I don't know how to do the normal things. And I checked into the Salvation Army ARC, and about a weekend, I'm sitting in the back of the classroom, just spun out of my mind. I don't realize how spun I'm. The guys later tell me, Chuck, your first 15, 20 days in here, you were a mess. Like your energy was so negative, and like I didn't say a word. He goes, but we would like avoid walking down the hall with you because we didn't know what you were going to do. But a week into this deal, I'm sitting in the back of the room, just my fist clenched. Like I walked around like this and just shaking. Like this is the first time I haven't had a pill or a drink or something. And I'm talking a decade. Like even as a cop, I was popping pain pills, Ativan, at the end, not in the beginning, but, and this guy brings a meeting in, like a H&I commitment. I don't remember a thing he said, nothing. But what I was doing is I was watching him, and I could feel this guy's energy. And he would talk with his hands open, and he'd lean back in his chair and just smile. And he had no teeth. Smile, and he would talk and say things like love and happiness. And I didn't understand anything, but I knew in that instant I wanted what he had. I didn't know what it was. I'd never seen it before. I knew I'd never felt it before, but I wanted it. And I walked up to him after the meeting, and I had no words. I just walked up to him, and he looked at me and he put his hand on my shoulder and he goes, "Brother, you need relief." And I shook my head. And I didn't know what to say. He pulled out a notebook, flipping through it. He's like, "Well, that'll put you at my 16th sponsee I'm working with right now. I can do it." And that was it. Mad Dog Mike is his name. I met him with, he had 16 years sobriety when I met him. He spent the last 10 years of his addiction sticking a needle in his arm, living in the doorways of downtown Portland. He's the greatest man I know. That man would show up for me consistently at the Salvation Army. He would show up consistently for his other 15 sponsees. Step work, reading the big book, H&I commitments. At the same time, he pulled 14-hour days at his own business as a construction cleanup crew site guy. He had his own company, ran a couple guys. Did service work 5 nights a week and spent one whole day with his wife. That was his life. He was the happiest man I know, still to this day. And he was the first man that put his arms around me and told me he loved me, and I believed it. We got to work. We got to work, Daryl. That's what we did. We got to work. I was not happy. I was not joyous. I was not free. Every single day was like, the Salvation Army got us busy from 5 a.m. until 9 o'clock at night. I needed that. I needed that time frame for someone to tell me, you got to do this. Don't care. Nowhere on your birth certificate does it say life is fair. If you don't like wearing other guys' drawers, make better choices. Like, I needed to hear this shit, right? Like, I didn't have it figured out. And so I'm doing the deal at the Salvation Army. I'm meeting with my sponsor, Mike. By week 3, I'm into my 9th step. Like, it's still a whirlwind. I'm not necessarily, what I'm noticing is I'm like, that first week and a half, it was all about white knuckle sobriety. I mean, I was just hanging onto that bed. Like, I was out in the warehouse working hard. My only thought was, get to the pillow, Chuck. Get to the pillow, Robert. Get to the pillow. Like, that was it. If I can get to my pillow, everything will be okay. And I'd get to the pillow. And then the next morning we'd do it again, right? Get to the pillow. I mean, by the moment I'd wake up, that was my only thought. Just get, I'm an ex-cop. I'm in a house with 120 at times ex-cons. I am uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. But it's exactly what I needed. It's exactly where I was supposed to be. I had violent encounters that got broke up, not because of anybody but me. I got put on restriction multiple times for my mouth, for my inability to control my emotions. I wasn't let off the yard. I wasn't let off the Salvation Army for 53 days because I couldn't pee clean for marijuana. But during that time, I was having all these problems. But what I could see was that I was starting to feel less anxious. I was starting to feel less guilt. I was starting to feel less fear, and I was starting to be able to interact with others. And one of the most people, I don't know, I'm not a big fan of the word miracle. Like, I'm just going to be honest. If I chopped my hand off tonight, went to bed, prayed for a new hand, and I woke up with one, that's a fucking miracle, right? Like, I'm a firm believer of that. But there's enough evidence with about 1,000 guys I know that if they do a specific thing, it'll give a specific result. That means it's work, right? This is all work related. But this is where my miracle is. I wrote out my 4-step, right? Wrote it out. And then I got to that page where I'm going to write the shit I didn't tell any of my other sponsors, because I knew this was it. This is what was going to separate me from living and dying. And I wrote it down in there and I put my notebook away. Mike's supposed to show up at like 6 o'clock. We're going to do my 5th step. I'm sitting there eating chow at like 4:30, and in comes Mike. Brother, I'm not going to make it. I got it. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no problem, Mike. No problem. And relief, right? Relief. And you know what my head told me, Chuck? That's a sign from God that you don't have to tell him that shit. Like, you took care of that with me. You don't need to tell him that. You don't have to. And I felt relief, right? So I go to bed. It's 8 o'clock at night. I'm in bed. Someone knocks on my door. Go and answer the door. Mike's here. I'm like, what? Mike came back. He wants to do your 5th step right now. Yeah, that was my miracle. I was going to go to bed and bury all that shame. I was going to go to bed and say it was okay. I was going to go to bed and justify not telling another man my dirty little secrets. And my higher power had a different plan. And that was the first night that I sat across from a man and truly came to a position where I understood that my inability to navigate relationships has nothing to do with anybody but me, and my willingness to be transparent and my willingness to be honest. And and we got done with my 5th step, and he put his hands back like he does, big toothless smile. That's it. Gives me a big hug, tells me he loves me, and the next day I was able to look the world in the eye. That was one of those pivotal moments. But those were those moments. That was like 35 days in. Like I am still my chemistry in my head is still messed up, but I am starting to experience some significant shifts in how I perceive the world around me. And I'm starting to see through that 4th and 5th step the level of ignorance that I had navigated life, up to this point. My chauvinism, my racism, my bigotry, all these things that were basically, data input from external forces, but that I'm accepting on whatever it is. And I'm just seeing the absurdity of who I was. And so I do it. I'm doing the deal. I'm at the Sally. I'm keeping my mouth shut. I'm learning to navigate, be useful. Guys know I'm an ex-cop now. Nobody cares, right? We're all just soldiers trying to get well. That's it. And about 4 months in, Mike shows up Friday night. And he's like, "You're going to detox." I'm like, whoa, wait a second, Mike. I'm at the Sally. I don't have a girlfriend. I'm over 30 grand in debt with back child support. I'm a deadbeat dad. Don't have a license. No foreseeable job options. What do I have? What do I have to take the detox that's going to be useful? He looked at me and goes, "You're sober." That was all he said, and it was like, you're right, Mike. You're right. How selfish of me to think that I've got to have it all together. We went down to Hooper Detox, downtown Portland. It's this is not Club Med. They line up every Tuesday morning at 6 o'clock on the street to get into this place. It's a free detox, and set them up on cots in a great big gymnasium style room. And I come in there. I don't remember. I mean, I go with 3 other guys, Mike and 2 other sponsees of his that have got some time. And these guys shuffle in, man, blankets on, shaking, sweating, and it's an instantaneous reminder, that first step, right? Instantaneous reminder, that first step, and recognizing where I easily could go. And so I don't know what we shared. I don't know what I shared. All I know is I walked outside that night to the parking lot that overlooked downtown Portland. And it's, it's mid, I don't know, May. I don't know. It was a beautiful night, crystal clear, stars in the sky. I looked up at the stars and it felt like I got freaking hit in the back of the head with, I can't even explain it, like the best high I'd ever felt. It went right down to my toes. And I knew right there in that instant, no matter what, my purpose was to be of service. people had said it for a long time. People would talk about it, working with other drunks, got a sponsor, get an H&I commitment. Yeah. Man, it's good for other people. Steps don't really work for me. And in that instant, I had that shift. Boom. And I knew I needed to be of service. And that was my solution. So, everything happens. We keep going on. I go through the Sally. I complete the program. I go into sober living, not because I want to, but because guys with bigger and better lives than me said, you need to go to sober living. Right? I didn't get a girlfriend. Why? Because guys said, you don't know how to have a relationship with Robert. You need to have a relationship with yourself before you could do anything for a woman. Yeah, you're right. All right. So I go into sober living. I got my job that they told me to down the road from sober living at a material recycling yard that is ran the CEO and the yard boss, both Salvation Army graduates from 15 years prior. Only hire guys coming out of prison or out of the Salvation Army. I fought it tooth and nail initially. I fought it, right? I'm not going where everybody else goes. I'm going to get a real job that pays me $20 an hour, $25 an hour, $30 an hour. I know what my worth is. And I go into my counselor and he's like, go there. I'm like, ah. I walk into my interview, got my tie on. And I walk in and it's the guy that runs the joint, the CEO. And he's got a big handlebar mustache, cowboy hat on. He's doing some paperwork. He looks up at me and says, what's your home group? Who's your sponsor? What step are you on? And I knew I was home. I knew I was right where I was supposed to be. So I showed up and did what the guys told me to do, right? Show up, make the company money, make Vern Brown look good for hiring you. That's it. That's all you're supposed to do. You don't tell them how to run their company. You're not looking at your phone if it's not on break, right? You're not punching in early or punching out early or coming in late. You're not doing any of that. You're not calling in sick if you're not sick. You're not going to do that, right? You're going to learn to live life differently. And with that in that arena, things just started to happen. I'm there like 2 weeks. I'm in the pit, sorting materials, sweat's pouring down. My toes are swollen. I'm taking my boots off halfway home, crying on the side of the road because my feet hurt so bad. Grown ass man crying like, I don't know what to do. Lacing the boots back up. I go to my first meeting after a week of work, and I'm in that meeting vomiting my fucking bullshit up on everybody on my share, right? Poor me. And after the meeting, this brother walks up and he gets in my face and he says, Chuck, either God is or God isn't. Make a choice. Another one, boom, right? Holy shit. And I knew right then and there, everywhere I'm at is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And without the drink or the drug, I have the freedom to make a decision now. Am I going to use this to be of maximum service? Or am I going to use this to crawl back under my umbrella of victimization? Like, that's it. Everywhere I am, that's where I'm supposed to be for one purpose, to be of maximum service. I needed guys like that in my life. I needed men who are not afraid of my personality, of my energy, of whatever it is, to come up to me and spit truth at me. Like, I needed that. And it was like that. Everything clicked again. Like, I've had like 3 of these mind-altering things take place. And so I went back to that job. I applied myself, and in a course of 6 months, I went from sorting material to learning all operations of the yard, from tractor trailers to roll-offs, to front end loaders, to excavators, to running the copper mill. And then at 6 months, they come out and say, we want you to come in the office. I'm like, what does that mean? We want you to manage the trucking side of the industry. I'm like, I don't know what to do there. Don't worry, we'll figure it out. And so 6 months in, I haven't told anybody what I should do. I haven't asked for opportunities. I'm showing up and being consistent. That's all I'm doing. Showing up, being consistent, doing more than I'm paid to do. And then I get moved into the office where I start managing and I'll tell you what, to manage 8 drivers that are all ex-cons and ex-drug addicts, it's challenging. I know I'm challenging, but it was a challenge, and it was incredible. It was an incredible experience. I ended up meeting my wife. You guys are all aware of that, Mrs. Ex-problem drinker. in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. I was 11 months sober. This lady's over there fucking jawing about sobriety. I'm like, wow, if I was a chick, that would be my sponsor. That's all I'm thinking. And I hadn't seen her yet, but like I was in love. Like all I heard was her words, and I'm like, wow, that's powerful. And yeah, I waited till I was a year sober, called her up on my year sober and said, hey man, not interested in test driving. I'm not interested in marriage. I'm just interested in wondering if you want to be my life partner. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that means. I have no expectations of you. I don't expect you to be honest with me. I don't expect you to be loyal to me, but I expect that I will do that for you. Like when you call me and ask me where I am, that's where I'll be. I can give you that expectation of who I am. And, I'm very fortunate. She said, yeah, she's way smarter than me and hasn't figured out that she could probably do better than me. And I'm grateful for that. But, that's where my journey really took off. That's where our journey really took off, that she has this same fire because she's in recovery. It's not, I'm not blowing her anonymity. But that was the piece, right? I knew I couldn't be successful in a relationship if I was at odds with whoever I was in a relationship. And I don't mean intentionally. I knew that there had to be a similar vision. And our vision is the same, yet we have very unique recovery journeys. And the same is that our primary purpose is to be of service. And, and that's brought us out to Michigan. Right. Growth in the company, got hired at a major trash company, doing my thing, got driver of the year, blah, 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 just for showing up and doing what I'm supposed to do and being consistent and being useful and keeping my mouth shut. Right. Like those little things. And then I got, I like to share this piece of it. I got this job offer. We came out here to Michigan. All our relatives live out here. We're like, we need to come back. We've now had our little boy. We need to come back because we want our son to grow up and know his relatives. And we need to come back so we can make living amends and be present for our aging parents. My mom died quickly after we got here, unsuspectedly. But like her parents, they're getting older. My dad's getting older. And her and I both are similarly very nomadic. Like we were gone. Don't call, don't write, that type of stuff. So I looked around within my company and two places were interested and it was fun. They the one guy, the place I worked, they call me up. Hey, when's Kalamazoo calling you? I'm like, they're calling me tomorrow at 6 a.m. All right. We'll call you back today. And I hear later that the general manager out here had heard about me and he'd talked to the guys that were interviewing me. And he says, at all costs, you get that guy out here. And that's not because I'm unique or special. It's because of the principles of the program. It's because I show up consistently. If I open my mouth, I try to make it useful, and I try and do more than I'm paid to do, and that's it. It's nothing significant. It's nothing major. It's not rocket science, And they called me back later that day and offered me an incredible offer, right? Paid our way across country to get out here. And this is what I share with, especially when I go to detox and stuff. My experience with moving prior to that event for the previous decade was somebody shoving a fucking garbage bag in my face saying, pack your shit and get out of my house. Like that was my experience. And so for people to say, we want you, we're going to give you this financially and we're going to pay for your way across country to come here without even knowing who I am. That was a big deal for me, and it's just Daryl, I can't say it enough that anybody can have what I have. Like it's the only limitation is within ourselves on what we're willing to do. And I understand the limitations. Like don't misunderstand me. There was a day in my life where I had a buddy of mine who was very wealthy, very well-to-do, created his own wealth, big company in Vegas. And his number one priority was to give. Like he could not tell me that, Chuck, give. No, what are you talking about? Like, and I can't say that enough today. Like, I don't have the opportunities that I used to have. You know, our life has become very rich. I have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, lot going on. So my giving limitations, my giving opportunities have come down to being very controlled. Like going to Pine Rest Detox on a Friday night. I've got 2 speaking engagements coming up next month and the following month. I have to plan for that shit now. It used to be my wife and I, if I was down in the dumps and I'd come home, she's like, "Hey, you want to go get about $50 worth of fives and head down to Skid Row and hand them out?" I'd be like, yeah, I do. And we'd go do that. And we would have a spiritual experience. And I would sit with my brothers on the streets. They couldn't get sober, but I would love on them. And yes, I would give them money. Yes. If I can keep a guy from sticking a gun in my grandma's face at the 7-Eleven by giving him $5 because he's dope sick, I'm going to do it. Right? That's the choices I make today. And it's not my job to tell him what to do, use it for. But I learned a lot from that. I learned that money is a tool. It's a tool for happiness. It's a tool for, it's not an object. It's an energy, right? I mean, I'm going way down a different road right now, but let me bring it back. It's just that my continued success in recovery hinges on the principle of service work. And if there's no other message that I can relay tonight or today or this morning, is that service work, generally speaking, is not friendly. What does that mean? I don't oftentimes look forward to it. I usually make the commitment and it feels so good to make a service commitment, right? Like, oh, I feel good that I'm going to do something good. Well, life continues to move on and that service commitment's getting closer. And like this, I get nervous. I'm going to have to talk. He's going to put this on something. But once I'm in it, once I am there, once I'm downtown handing out socks to the homeless, once I'm sticking my hand out and pulling a brother in that's on the street and giving them a hug, asking them their names, man, it feels so good. I mean, it feels so good. I can't explain. I thought this stuff was bullshit when I was younger. Literally, I thought it was. And today it is the key and the foundation of who I am. Yeah.
Very cool, man. Very cool. I can't even begin to tell you how powerful that story is and how much you will help people. And you do help people. And like, seriously, I've done a few of these now, and that is one of the most heartfelt that I've experienced. So thank you so much for sharing. And I will say, thank you for your work as a police officer, as a cop. Honestly, I come from a family of my brother was a cop, my grandfather was a cop, my other grandfather was a firefighter. So, it's a huge commitment and it's a huge job, and there's just a lot that people who don't understand.
Right.
So thank you for that.
I appreciate that.
You mentioned so many things. I wrote down some notes while you were talking, but the first thing, and I'm just going to roll through these because I know we've got a little bit of a time.
Yeah, I got 5 minutes for you, buddy. We can always do this again, though.
Yeah. No, we definitely can do this again. But a couple things. It takes what it takes, which is 100% true. Whether we're drinking, whether we're sober, whatever, it takes what it takes.
That's right.
To get us to a place and through a place and into a different place. And I 100% believe that with all my heart, because in the time that I've been sober, it always takes what it takes. And you know what? The most important thing for me to remember is it takes what it takes for everyone else too.
That's right. You're right. Absolutely.
And I have to understand that my journey is not their journey, and their journey is not my journey. And their journey is what it is.
Well said.
You talked about choices, which that's what makes the world go around, man. That's what makes our world go around. I look at your journey and your story, and it's a number of choices at specific times. And sometimes I'm going to say, just hearing that story, sometimes, hitting you in the back of the head like a shovel, to me, that's a miracle because it's more than a choice. There's an enlightening moment, right? And that's some hardcore shit, and we've all had a few of those.
Yeah.
And you can call it whatever you call it, but it's powerful. And my sponsor told me, we do have to keep this, we have to do this again, but my sponsor told me, he said, once you start going, man, you can't go back. You can't go back. Once you get hit in the head with that shovel, you can't go back. And I 100% agree with that.
I tell people all the time, the drinking part isn't my problem today.
Right.
That's not my problem. Right.
Right.
There may be other problems, but that's not part of it.
What's, and I know we're getting time crunch here, but what speaks so loudly to me about your story in recovery, December 15th, is my birthday, by the way, which is just cool as hell. My birthday, my real life birthday.
It's my 7-year-old's birthday too, buddy.
Yeah. See?
Yeah. That's awesome.
See, that's pretty crazy. One of these days I'm going to come to Michigan on December 15th. But willingness is such a huge part of your, I just see it emanating from you. And the other thing is humility. Humility is I think it's between humility and gratitude, two of the most powerful things on the planet. And what they used to say to me when I was first coming around 12-step tables is humility is another word for teachable. And how many times did you say in your story, they told me to do this and I did it. They told me to do this and I did it. They told me to do this and I did it. And that's exactly my story because I didn't know shit from Shinola.
Yeah.
And I did what they told me to do. You know what? I want you to, I know we got to wrap this up, but if you could tell people where to find you on X, because if they want to follow you, I think you're a powerful person to follow. And I'd love it if you do that, if you're willing.
Yeah. The X problem drinker, World of Robert 1 is, I don't know how it works. I'm not a techie. It's not who I am, but I don't know if you hit at X problem drinker or the X problem drinker. And X is EX problem drinker. But please, if today is the day that you're making a decision on whether or not you're going to pick up or not pick up or kill yourself or not kill yourself, please get in touch with me or Daryl.
Thank you. We're going to call this part 1, Robert. And
100%, buddy.
Yeah, we're going to get part 2 going at some point soon. So part 1, that's how I'm going to frame this discussion as part 1. I'm
seeing a mini series, buddy, a mini series.
Shogun. Yeah, we'll let Mrs. X Problem Drinker take over here. But thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it immensely. I loved it, and we will do it again soon, brother.
Right on. Thank you. Have a great day. Love you, man.
You as well. Love you too, man. If you've enjoyed When I Stop Fighting the podcast, please check out my books and my journals on my website, DarylDittmer.com. Enjoy a 15% discount by using the code PODCAST, DARYLDITTMER.com.